They offered humanity peace, we gave them our warship catalog. Captain Marcus Thorne looked out of Meridian Station's observation deck at the impossible sight. 3 massive ships hung in the void outside of Earth's outer defense perimeter, their hulls glimmering with an opalescent sheen which was between silver and dark blue. They were beautiful in a manner human design had never succeeded. Organic lines, which flowed like frozen water through space, no indication of weaponry, no hostile angles, pure, beautiful design which spoke of a species far beyond humanity's ability. Sir, they're requesting an alternate communication vector, Lieutenant Sarah Chen advised from the comray. Her voice contained the same mixture of awe and nervous enthusiasm that had pervaded the station since the fleet of aliens had arrived 72 hours before. Marcus spun on from the viewport, his rugged face a testament to decades of a life lived on military assignment and shouldering responsibility as humankind's representative. First contact with an alien society. Hook them up, Lieutenant, and make certain Earth Command is recording every bit of this. The holographic display flickered on at the center of the command deck, revealing 3 creatures that could not readily be classified. They stood about 7 feet tall, with elongated limbs and faces that looked almost human unless you took a closer look and saw the indicative differences: eyes with glints of starlight, skin with a delicate luminescent glow, and motion with an otherworldly grace. The main figure moved closer, and as it spoke, the voice came through on the universal translator with a melodic voice reminiscent of wind chimes on a spring breeze. Captain Thorne, I'm Ambassador Zephyr of the Celestial Concord. We've come bearing an offer of something you've never had as a part of your history. True peace. Marcus gazed at a side view from his second-in-command, Commander Elena Rodriguez. They had trained their entire lives for this day, ever since their first contact with an alien race. But nothing had prepared them for this burden of what they would soon hear. Ambassador Zephyr, stated Marcus, standing his ground. Humans extend a welcome, but we wonder at what you mean by true peace, and what we would be asked to do. The extraterrestrial envoy's face, if one may even describe it as a face, seemed to unbend. Captain, we've observed your species for untold cycles of your world. We've watched you struggle with war, with separation, with an unquenchable pursuit of resources that can only lead to further conflicts. The Celestial Concord has outgrown such primitive concerns. We would like to exchange our knowledge, our technology, our understanding of the cosmos itself. Station Intelligence Officer Lieutenant Commander David Kim sat forward. There was something about the tone of the ambassador that had triggered his analytical mode. What exactly do you have to offer, Ambassador? Zephyr bowed graciously, and the holographic screen opened to display images which took each of their breaths. Floating cities amidst clouds whose spires reached toward sky and gardens sloping down their sides. Interstellar ships which sailed between stars as smoothly as boats on a lake. Medical equipment which would forever extend human life without disease and suffering. We can supply you with unlimited clean power with which you can stop forever your wrangles over resources, Zephyr continued. Medical technologies by which you will stop dying of disease and of aging. Transportation systems by which you can spread throughout the galaxy as easily as you once spread across your continents. Food systems by which you can sustain your growing population without draining your world's resources. The command deck fell silent except for the gentle hum of station operations. Marcus' heart was racing as he took in what it meant. This was something greater than human imagination had ever conceived of, a cure-all to all of their species' ills. From their inception as a civilization, Commander Rodriguez interrupted, her voice strictly controlled. And what will the Celestial Concord require of humankind, Ambassador? A halt to your war vehicles, said Zephyr, and there was something nostalgic in the translated voice. Your warships, your defense grids, all of your warring installations, you must divest yourselves of all of them. You must choose peace, once and forever, and with all of your will. The silence persisted on this day. Marcus could feel the weight of having made this decision rest on his shoulders like a blanket of lead. Everything human beings had ever wanted was being handed to them on a silver platter. Yet the price was all they had ever used as a form of defense mechanism. Ambassador, Marcus cautioned, you're asking us to render ourselves completely vulnerable. How will we know another species won't take advantage of our vulnerability? Ambassador Zephyr's luminescent eyes seemed to light up even further. Captain, there aren't any other warring races. The galaxy has had peace for over 1,000 of your years. Those races which chose war advanced beyond it, or the diplomat paused substantially. They aren't a threat any longer. Lieutenant Chen's fingers flew across her console as she processed this data. Sir, they're implying warlike species either join their concord or they get eliminated. Marcus had silently nodded. The implication was clear. This was not an offer of peace. This was a threat. join their non-violent society, or face a similar fate as other warlike races had evidently met. "We will have to consider your proposal, Ambassador," replied Marcus tactfully. "This is a decision human beings can never take easily. Indeed, sir. We understand the extent of what we're asking. We'll remain here as leaders from your side discuss, but let it be understood, however, that our patience, though lengthy, has a breaking point." The communication having ended, the command deck was silent with tension. Marcus stared at the location at which the hologram had materialized, his mind reeling with what they had just learned. "Any thoughts?" he asked his senior aides. Commander Rodriguez went first. "It's the deal of the century, sir. Everything there offering could heal humankind of its ills in one night, but giving up all of our defenses, it's suicide," said Lieutenant Commander Kim. "We'd be completely at their mercy. And this comment about other warlike species not being concerns any longer. That sounds like a threat pretending to be a reassurance," Station Chief Xenobiologist Dr. Hannah Walsh had sat there studying the alien transmissions in silent thought. "There is one thing," she said thoughtfully. "Their tech, their culture, as far as we can see, their entire society, it is all about cooperation. That they arrived in with 3 massive ships that had to travel titanic distances to reach here. That level of coordination and resources speaks of a military capability they aren't promoting." Marcus agreed. "Get me a priority channel with Earth. Command. President Martinez has to hear this directly." The next hours consisted of a series of emergency calls with leaders on Earth. President Isabella Martinez, Defense Secretary General Patricia Hayes, and all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff participated in long meetings, discussing humankind's response to the alien proposal. "The public is losing their minds," said President Martinez at one particularly frenetic briefing. "Half of them think this is all of our dreams coming true, and half think we're opening ourselves to invasion. The religious groups are split between this as God's will or devilish temptation." Jen Hayes' weathered face appeared on another section of the hologram display. "Militarily, sir, this is all the signs of a trap. Any species gains interstellar capability as a corollary of developing a way of defending themselves. The fact they're appealing to us to disarm must mean they think our warfare capability is a threat." "But General," replied President Science Advisor Dr. Sarah Hendricks, "what they're suggesting would put human civilization centuries into the future. We're talking about eliminating shortages, extending human lifespan without stop, and opening up the entire galaxy to human colonization." Secretary of State Robert Chen shook his head. "The foreign policy implications are breathtaking. By saying no, we will be seen as an aggressive species that needs to be taken care of. By saying yes, we put ourselves completely at their mercy." President Martinez looked directly at Marcus through the monitor. "Captain Thorne, you've had the best one-on-one interaction with them. How does it feel?" Marcus considered his words. "Mum, they're plainly far ahead of us. Their ships, their technology, even their diplomacy all point to a society with a lot of experience with this kind of situation. For a long time now. But something about Ambassador Zephyr isn't sitting quite right with me. It seems as if they're displeased about something, as if this whole process is painful on their end. Well, Mum, if you had a tech that would, cure all of another species' ills, wouldn't you be a tad more enthusiastic about sharing? But they just show up, resigned, done this before, and they know how it ends or something." The president was quiet for a long time. "I want you to go and inquire of them, Captain, for another meeting with the ambassador. Let them know we appreciate their proposal and that humanity is considering it very seriously. But inform them if they would accept something of ours as a gesture of goodwill." "What kind of gesture, ma'am?" The president's face was set with a faint smile. "Tell them we wish to extend to them our own technological developments as a human race, our own spacecraft designs, specifically. Frame it as a cultural exchange. They're extending their Pacific technologies to us. We wish to extend human ingenuity and engineering to them." Marcus couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. "You mean, you'd like me to let them see our warships?" "Don't show them, sir. Offer them complete technical specifications. Every class of ship we've built, from our first atmospheric fighters on up to our newest dreadnoughts. Let them know we're perfectly truthful about what we can do as a goodwill gesture." General Hayes appeared dumbfounded. "Mr. President, that will reveal all of our tactical strengths, indeed, General, and above all, it will tell them something about ourselves which they obviously do not yet comprehend." The meeting concluded with Marcus still perplexed over the president's proposal, but he had his orders. 6 hours had passed when he was speaking with Ambassador Zephyr again, with the sophisticated form of the extraterrestrial looming large on the holographic display. "Ambassador, I've spoken with leaders of Earth, and I'm pleased to tell you that humanity is seriously considering your gracious proposal. Marcus stated formally. Indeed, we're so impressed with your friendly intentions and advanced level of tech that we'd like to reciprocate with a gesture of our own. It seemed like Zephyr's bright eyes sparked with what might have been happiness. That is surprising, Captain. What is this form of gesture humankind would like to extend? We would like to provide you with examples of human technological capability. More specifically, we would like to provide you with detailed technical descriptions of our spacecraft designs. Consider this a form of cultural exchange. You've shown us your non-aggressive technologies, and we would like to show you examples of human ingenuity and technology. There was a moment of silence, and Marcus was convinced he had seen astonishment flash on the extraterrestrial ambassador's face. You would like to swap your plans of a warship with ours? True, Ambassador. We would like to be completely frank about what we can offer as a sign of good faith and goodwill. In becoming members of your non-belligerent society, we would like you to know exactly what we as human beings have to bring with us. Marcus gestured at Lieutenant Chen, who began transmitting the first batch of files. Those of our Vanguard-class patrol ship design specifications. We have them as our least advanced weaponized vessels, reserved for system patrols and light escorts. The holographic display was filled with complex technical schematics, explaining every aspect of Vanguard's design: the fusion drive, its defensive armor plating, weapon systems, and crew quarters. But even more critically, the files had long explanations of design philosophy of each piece. As you can see, Marcus stated, the Vanguard makes a trade-off of heavy firepower and armor against speed and maneuverability. Its design mindset favors hit-and-run tactics and exploiting increased mobility at maximum effectiveness against bigger opponents. Zephyr studied the schematics with obvious respect. This is very advanced, Captain. Your species has achieved an extraordinary degree of efficiency within your design parameters. That's just the beginning. Ambassador. Marcus leaned back toward Chen. Those are the specifications of our Fortress-class heavy cruisers. The fresh plans presented a completely different design approach. While the Vanguard was swift and streamlined, the Fortress was a large, looming ship with a variety of weapon systems and armor plating like a medieval fortress. Our fortress is our philosophy of endurance, stated Marcus. When we can't outrun an enemy, we build something which will absorb all they can throw at it and still come out alive. The armor system uses a blend of titanium steel alloys with reactive plates able to absorb tremendous impacts of kinetic and energy weapons. Lieutenant Commander Kim leaned forward, including technical particulars. The real characteristic of this design, sir, is redundant design. You've got duplicate systems on each critical aspect. You can burn half a ship and it'll still manage to stay with you. Zephyr's face was becoming increasingly curious. Your species has developed incredibly divergent approaches toward approximately identical basic problems. Most civilizations move toward a single design philosophy. That's one of humankind's virtues, replied Commander Rodriguez. We never could agree on how we should do something, so we had a different solution for every problem. Marcus smiled. Which brings us on to our next class of ship. Lieutenant Chen put through the specifications of the Phantom class. The plans unveiled something that barely looked like a ship at all, a collection of sensor arrays and stealth systems with a small crew compartment and large power plant. The Phantom represents our philosophy of reconnaissance and stealth, Marcus stated. When you can't outrun an enemy and can't engage him, you make him never see you coming at all. The hull has adaptive camouflage able to duplicate background patterns of radiation, making it all but invisible against a majority of sensor systems. Dr. Walsh had come into the briefing and brought her expertise with her. The interesting part of the Phantom design was how it forced you to miniaturize everything. When you can't fit heavy armor or large weapons, everything has to be as efficient as possible. For the next 3 hours, Marcus and his crew toured Ambassador Zephyr through humankind's entire inventory of warships. They showed him massive Titan-class dreadnoughts with their gravity-warped battle engines. They revealed the resplendent Raptor-class fighters with their skipping capability between asteroids and unstoppable velocities. They displayed the terrifying Reaper-class assault vessels with a one-task job of boarding and capturing enemy vessels. Instead of presenting specifications alone, they spoke of what had driven each of their designs. They spoke of their histories which had inspired each of their innovations, their strategic problems which had decided each of their solutions, and their philosophical positions which had informed each of their design choices. Well, you see, Ambassador, said Marcus as they concluded with the presentation, man has never had a chance at a single, universal solution regarding conflict. We've had to develop dozens of different resolutions. Because we've had dozens of divergent types of obstacles. The Zephyr had sat silently for minutes, studying the sum data with seeming fascination. By the time the ambassador next spoke, something was different about the translated voice tone which Marcus couldn't quite identify. Captain Thorne, in all of our thousands of years of contact with developing worlds, we've never observed anything like this. What do you mean, Ambassador? The bulk of species, as soon as they develop space travel, follow down basically the same path. They develop one type of ship and then duplicate it, lengthening it, broadening it, or adding firepower to it. But your species, Zephyr paused as if searching for words. You've created solutions to problems most civilizations can never imagine. Lieutenant Commander Kim appeared perplexed. Ambassador, shouldn't other species have evolved a stealth function or backup systems? Some have, yes, but not like this. Your Phantom-class vessels use strategies our own engineers speculated about but never implemented, because they came across as too unworkable. Your own Fortress-class vessels use defensive strategies we ourselves abandoned centuries ago, because we deemed them inefficient. But your plans show you've managed to make these strategies viable, even extremely efficient. Marcus became even more unsettled. You mean you believe our Miltech is better than what we assumed? Sophisticated? No, sir. More imaginative. More adaptable. More. Zephyr seemed to struggle with the concept. Your species is attracted toward war as an art, rather than a science. Commander Rodriguez leaned forward. What do you mean by that? Most cultures develop military technology as a response to an existing threat. They recognize a threat and develop a solution. But human society appeared to develop military technology as a declaration of potential. You've created arms and defenses against scenarios which never occurred, answers to problems you never had. Dr. Walsh nodded reflectively. That is quite true, Ambassador. Some of our highest innovations came from exercises of imagination rather than from practical ends. We've never hesitated to say what if. Zephyr glanced back at the specifications one last time, and Marcus could see that the two other alien silhouettes on the horizon had moved closer, their own focus solely on this human data. Captain, can I ask you a simple question? Of course. Ambassador, this contrivance of boats, this technical brilliance, this apparent enthusiasm to develop remedies against fancied evils, is this typical of how your species meets all handicaps? Marcus reflected a great deal. Yes, I believe you're quite right. People have always been good at planning against things yet to happen, and at having all sorts of solutions to one dilemma. And when you encounter a problem which has a solution, yet unmade, we make one up, said Lieutenant Chen curiously. Typically a half dozen or so, to find which one is best. Those three extraterrestrials stared at one another as if their looks contained pages of dialogue. Then Zephyr gazed back at human officers. Captain Thorne, I must speak with my colleagues. Could we perhaps take a moment or two? Process what you've shown us? Of course, Ambassador. Take all the time you require. The communication was finished. Silencing the command deck into a period of quiet reflection, Marcus gazed at the space, taken by the hologram just a moment before, trying to process what had happened. Sir, Commander Rodriguez spoke in a hushed tone. Did we just reveal something we shouldn't have? It wasn't as if we discovered something, Elena. I think we reminded them of something they had forgotten. Dr. Walsh lifted his eyes from the analysis station. Captain, I've been running an analysis of the speaking style of the ambassador, and there has been a constant shift in their emotional markers throughout this interview. What kind of shift? They approached us with assurance, even arrogance. But as we exposed them to progressively more of our designs, their verbal cues betrayed signs which our xenolinguistics computer interprets as concern and something else. What else? Respect. Sir. Growing respect. Lieutenant Commander Kim had been doing tactical analyses on their own briefs. Sir, I think I know what happened here. We didn't just show our firepower, we showed our minds. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Explain. Place yourself in their shoes, sir. They're used to having dealings with civilizations that acquire a repetitive, linear mode of resolving crises. But we've just shown them a species which develops a multiplicity of innovative, adaptable modes of resolving crises which aren't even possibilities yet strategically. This makes us completely unpredictable. Commander Rodriguez nodded seriously. And unpredictability is something sophisticated tactical planning can't exactly compensate for. Indeed, they came here hoping to negotiate with a traditional developing military civilization of, but limited, strong but predictable, but what they discovered was a species which thinks about war as painters think about painting. Dr. Walsh glanced up at the console a second time. Sirs, we've received another communication request from the alien spacecraft. Put them through. Lieutenant Chen, The holographic display flickered on, but this time all three of the alien beings materialized, with Ambassador Zephyr between the two other members of the delegation. There was something different about their bearing, more formal, more respectful. Captain Thorne, Zephyr began, and the translated voice had new notes of what might have been respect. We've reviewed the tech specifications you brought to us, and we find ourselves with a never-before-seen scenario. How's that, Ambassador? In centuries of contact with developing cultures, we've never failed to foresee their direction of military development. Species develop on straight, logical paths based on their chief threat and available resources. But your species has managed to develop something we've never seen before. The man on Zephyr's left advanced a step. I am Nexus, Celestial Concord Strategic Analyst. Captain, plans of warfare you've presented detail a fundamental approach of warfare which signifies that as a species you are not merely warlike, you are war adaptive. Marcus shuddered, not entirely sure what the difference is. Warlike species develop ever stronger weapons with which to overcome their enemies through brute force, Nexus stated. War adaptive species develop ever better adaptations with which to overcome any conceivable foe through sheer cleverness. Third alien spoke. I am Cultural Observer Harmony. Your specifications are poetry, Captain Thorne. Each of your designs speaks not just of a potential of engineering, but of a sense of imagination applied to challenge. And this brings with it a species which views conflict as a challenge rather than a problem to overcome. Zephyr went on. We arrived with the proposal of peace, hoping you would turn out to be another young species yet to master how to move on from violence. You discover, however, a species which has perfected violence as an art form. Marcus gazed at his senior team members. This was a conversation going into places none of them had envisioned. Ambassador, I'm still unsure what this implies about what you intended on offering initially. Captain, the Celestial Concord has maintained galactic peace for over a millennium by identifying potentially destabilizing civilizations and either integrating them into our non-violent paradigm or Zephyr let his phrase dangle with an obvious insinuation, preventing them from becoming threats against galactic stability. Lieutenant Commander Kim's strategic training kicked in. You kill species that will not be part of your empire of peace. We maintain steady, yes, but Captain Thorne, you species represent a rather singular threat. You're not simply powerful enough to threaten intergalactic peace. You're clever enough to devise a totally new means of threatening intergalactic peace. Commander Rodriguez moved closer. You are withdrawing your offer of membership into your Concord. It was a response from a Nexus strategic analyst this time. Commander, we are coming to realize that our standard approach may not apply to human society. A species capable of visualizing 47 different classes of warfare vessel, each appropriate to circumstances never yet approached, is one which can hardly be predicted or contained. Cultural Observer Harmony added moreover, besides, your willingness to disclose these specifications to us reveals a level of confidence, characteristic of a fearlessness of our technological superiority. This could either denote extraordinary foolishness or extraordinary capability. Marcus smiled tightly. Ambassador Zephyr, what do you think it is? He was silent a long time before answering. Captain, he said, it is something much worse than foolishness or competence. It is adaptability. Dr. Walsh had been observing the transmissions from extraterrestrials during the conversation. Captain, their biosigns show signs of stress that we didn't observe during our last dialogues. Ambassador, Zephyr seemed attentive and nodded. Dr. Walsh is correct. We're feeling what you would describe as concern. In our history, we've learned we can manage species acting predictably with advanced tech and advantageous positioning. Species acting unpredictably must be eliminated before they compose an extinction threat. The command deck fell silent. Marcus was cognizant of having the responsibility of humankind's future on his shoulders. But, replied Zephyr, a species which is unpredictable, yet adaptively imaginative, presents an entirely different kind of challenge. What kind of challenge? He asked gently. Strategic analyst Nexus responded. The kind of paradox which drove even the Celestial Concord itself. To establish our current policies first, Captain, we learned ages back that prevention of intergalactic war is a lot easier than winning one. And now, said Commander Rodriguez, a bid by humans to avert a war with humankind may well trigger one, said Cultural Observer Harmony. Lieutenant Chen glanced up from the comm console. Sirs, I'm detecting massive energy accumulations on all three of the extraterrestrial vessels. They're powering their main systems. Marcus' heart was racing, but he kept a steady tone. Ambassador, is your fleet about to engage? Captain Thorne, they're preparing themselves for a chance at a fight. The problem is, will that chance become a necessity? What would make it necessary? Zephyr and Cooper's eyes glowed as if they had become even brighter. If we deem human beings an unacceptable threat against intergalactic security, we will have to neutralize said threat. But if we proceed and neutralize human beings and we're wrong, we would have provoked this exact war we've been hoping to avert. Lieutenant Commander Kim was doing lightning calculation on his chart of tactics. Sir, even with our entire fleet, we couldn't approach their firepower. Those 3 ships must pack. But can we make them pay a price they won't agree to? Marcus said quietly. He ceased calculating, stared at him with a type of awe in his eyes. Sir, considering what we've uncovered about our tactics of ingenuity, they can have no idea what we're capable of. It appears Ambassador Zephyr has been listening to this discussion. Just our dilemma, Captain. Your race has proven able to develop antidotes against dilemmas yet unknown. How can we plan against perils you yourself have yet to imagine? Marcus got up and went to a viewport, through which he could see the 3 alien vessels hanging in orbit. Ambassador, may we perhaps imagine a different solution of this dilemma? We hear you, sir. As you came to bring us peace because you assumed we were a standard warring species to be incorporated or eliminated. You found we're something else, a species which views innovation as a lifestyle. Yes, so instead of trying to fit us into your pre-made paradigm, why not cooperate with us in building a paradigm of our own? One powered by human imagination rather than intimidated by it. It was a prolonged silence from the extraterrestrial delegation, then cultural observer. Harmony broke the silence. Captain, what should we do? Marcus took a deep breath. Here is my proposal, Observer Harmony. The Celestial Concord has maintained tranquility with advanced tech and sophisticated maneuvering. But what if you encounter dangers you aren't able to deal with through your tech and strategizing? Strategic Analyst Nexus said. We've never had these type of threats, but replied Commander Rodriguez. But according to your own estimates, human beings are exactly this type of unpredictable threat? How do you handle another species like ours? Or with technologies which change the fundamental nature of intergalactic society? Dr. Walsh looked up from her analysis. Sirs, they're shutting down their weapon systems. Ambassador Zephyr's expression seemed to ease somewhat. Captain Thorne, go ahead with your proposal. Instead of trying to repress human ingenuity, cooperate with it. Grant us a permit to employ your non-aggressive technologies, as well as projects with which we can engage. Let our adaptive ingenuity address situations good for galactic society, and not destructive of it. What kind of problems? Zephyr asked. Marcus smiled. Ambassador, in your 1,000 years of intergalactic peace, has there not been something, perhaps, which your traditional tactics could not resolve? Something advanced science was incapable of explaining? Something against which advanced technology was incapable of defending? The 3 aliens exchanged another series of looks which seemed to pack copious communication. Then Zephyr glanced back at human officers. There may well be such issues, but allowing human beings to come up with a solution would require faith in a species we've just determined is fundamentally unpredictable. Then let us prove ourselves worthy of that trust, replied Marcus. Give us a problem, a situation where your civilization has proven unable to solve with all of this advanced technology and intelligent planning. Let us show you what human ingenuity can accomplish when it is applied toward positive, rather than negative, goals. Lieutenant Commander Kim spoke up. An ambassador. Consider this: if we can help you resolve issues you can't resolve, we're good allies, not a dangerous enemy. Nexus, a strategic analyst, appeared intrigued. You're telling me we can make an unpredictable human liability a strength, right? Stated Commander Rodriguez. You've had a millennium of perfecting this thing. About maintaining stability. We've had our entire history perfecting this thing about adaptation. You put those 2 skills together, and you've got a galactic society able to rise to any challenge. Harmony, a cultural observer, intervened. This would require historic changes in Concord policy. But, replied Dr. Walsh, it would also provide unprecedented opportunity for growth and discovery. Ambassador Zephyr remained quiet a long time, looking at the human officers within the holographic projection. By the time the ambassador spoke, there was a tone of awe within the translated voice. Captain Thorne, you've presented us with your military specifications. You've given us something we've not had in centuries. What's that? Ambassador's surprise. And with surprise, possibility. Marcus had a flash of optimism. So, this would mean that the Celestial Concord wants to look into this cooperation approach. It means, sir, that we're willing to take a risk that our procedures otherwise would bar. We will take this proposal of yours before the Concord Council, as well as these extraordinary tech specifications you've shown us. Strategic Analyst Nexus added further. But we will also have to furnish evidence that human beings can direct their creative capability into constructive rather than destructive purposes. What kind of evidence? He questioned Marcus. Zephyr seemed to reflect on this seriously. There exists, naturally, one such challenge which has confounded Concord research for nearly 2 centuries. A series of space anomalies within a short range of a galactic core, which even our newest research vessels will neither comprehend nor approach safely. And human ingenuity may yet illuminate this mystery. The evidence you'll have that we can handle bigger projects, he finished. Exactly. Commander Rodriguez looked at Marcus. Sir, we would have to consult with Earth Command about signing on to something like this. Of course. Sir, Ambassador, how long would we have to provide a response to your challenge? The anomalies exist for 2 centuries. Captain, several days will not alter this situation. But do please understand this: if human society chooses to rise to this challenge and fails to produce positive answers, this Concord Council will perfectly understandably take this as an indication that your species is an unacceptable risk. Marcus grunted sarcastically. As you wish, Ambassador. And if we succeed, Captain Thorne, and humankind will have earned what no species has enjoyed for more than a millennium: the respect of the Celestial Concord as equals rather than subjects. The communication finished with the command deck silent and contemplative. Marcus looked at the strange spacecraft, now knowing they had brought no invaders, nor rescuers, but would be allies who had simply been reminded there was a bigger and far unknown universe than even their advanced society had remembered. Sir, Lieutenant Chen spoke quietly. The Earth Command requests an immediate situation briefing. Marcus smiled. Let them know we'll need to set up a very long discussion, Lieutenant, and let them put their best synergiologists, theoretical physicists, and imaginative minds on standby. Sir, are we really going to attempt to solve a mystery that has stumped an advanced alien civilization for 2 centuries? Marcus spun round from the viewport, his eyes gleaming with the same fanciful flame which had encouraged human minds to opt for 47 varieties of fighting ship. Lieutenant Chen, we will do far more than attempt. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what human ingenuity can accomplish when confronted with a worthy challenge. As Meridian Station began corresponding with humanity's best minds, and as the 3 alien spacecraft hung idle in the void, Marcus was conscious of how humankind had just been offered something of even greater value than peace, technology, or even intergalactic citizenry. They had been presented a chance to illustrate how imagination, adaptability, and man's enduring thirst for overcoming apparently insurmountable obstacles could develop into a groundwork of a different type of galactic society. A society built on cultivation of constructive imagination as opposed to inhibition of pernicious invention. The universe was soon going to witness what humanity was capable of when they would put an end to practicing war and would begin practicing wonders.